Good afternoon, how's it going? So, yeah, another video on the telephone exchange. I know it's a pretty odd thing that I've fallen down this rabbit hole. So 2 months ago, I ended up with this. It's a lump of wrought iron and copper. It's a UAX13 rack A telephone exchange thingamajiggy. And I gotta be honest, it's been a lot of work. And if I knew it was gonna be this much work when I started, I probably would have made myself not do this because, yeah, but at the same time, now I've got it, I sort of just needed to knuckle down and sort of get it working somewhat, or you know, I'd run a risk of having literally a useless lump of stuff just sitting about, and I'm not really a fan of like something this big sitting around to look at with a description where it doesn't work. So I feel that I needed to sort of put quite a bit of time into it, but I feel that the rather late evenings on this thing are finally starting to pay off, which is really good. So this video, I've put it up because I'm going to be putting up another video in the next, either today or tomorrow, on the Look Mum No Computer channel about making music with this thing. What we're going to be doing is I just need to make a conversion board. I'll make it in a second. I'll just make it up as I'm going. But I'm going to make it pretend to be 8 phones that are triggered by the BeatStep Pro. So the BeatStep Pro will basically pretend to be 8 phones going in here. It's going to be rather difficult to make this rhythmically timed with all of the different aspects of an unmodified thing. It would be so easy to modify this to make it more musical, but then you would sort of lose its original function. And something like this, I don't really want it to lose its original function, because if it probably won't do a very good job at being musical, because the thing is, these things, if they're used so much, they'll start wearing themselves out to ridiculousness. So I just don't think it would be right for me to literally start snipping cables to everything and making it as musical as I can. So we're gonna try and make it musical in a little bit. But for now, I wanted to show you what the function of this thing is and what it's gonna mainly be doing here, and what I've done since the last video. So in the last video, I can't even remember where, it was a couple of weeks ago, I said there was a couple of line finders working and there was a couple of group selectors working and stuff like that. And that's about it, I think. I can't remember, but luckily now, what you're looking at right here, all of the things with boxes on, pretty much all of them, they're all working, and they're all actually wired in to talk to each other. So I would go as far to say as right now, it's actually sort of working. I'd say it is, yeah, sort of working. If you're not aware, right now, the plan is with this thing is to sort of wire it up to all of the instruments in the museum and things that make noise, so you can call up things and listen to it over the reasonably noisy line and stuff like that. That is what it is, but it's cool. Like, you can ring up and listen to it. And the other idea would be there is one phone line, well, just one line that is sort of reserved for the internet, so people can potentially call in. Not sure how that's going to work yet. There's the Air Novelty Telephone Exchange Network or something like that. And we're currently, me and a guy called Chris are currently trying to figure that out and whether it's going to work and stuff. It's basically involves a computer that listens to the internet, but then that's wired directly to other museums and not potentially. I don't know whether it caters for people calling in over the internet. Need to figure out a means of this. People being able to call over from the internet and figure out a queuing system so there's only ever one person that's able to call in, because if you let it go, then literally all of the lines will probably be gone trying to call up this, that and the other, trying to call up Techmoan or somebody on the phone here and there. And you know, there's a lot of things that are going to be wired into this over time. So the most important thing right now is what I've done for the last 2 months, like a number of evenings, is basically just get this functioning. Because when I got it first, this thing wasn't working at all. Like, if you saw the first video on this, it was stored for I'm not sure how long, but probably under a year, I think. I don't know, in a garden underneath some tarpaulin and a cover and stuff. And you know, granted, for where it was stored, you would think it would be in worse nick, I've got to be honest, but actually it's not that bad. The first week or two was literally cleaning the fudging thing. It was just covered in cobwebs. It was all of the pads of everything had somewhat a bit of oxidation and stuff. There is still oxidation here and there. It's impossible to get it fully clean. I've been using just basically rubbing it with toothbrushes and stuff and alcohol and like stuff like that. But over time, just focusing on getting the bits that need to be clean clean, and then over time, if there are other pads and points that need to be cleaned thoroughly, well, then it's more of a focus, because it's been taking hours, but it's sort of working. Like I'll show you. This is going to be a hardly edited video. This is going to be a pretty loose form talking about what I've done since the last video. So let's jump in. So you'll notice that I have put all the covers over this one, purely because this one's a little bit more ropey than the demonstration setup, and it's a bit more susceptible to not working. So I want to reduce as many unknowns as possible. So shoving this on reduces the amount of dust that gets into these things and limiting their function. So solving the problems are easier and easier. So when I got this first, the group selectors, which is this pile and this pile, I think off the top of the bat, without any repairs and stuff, 2 of them worked. I seem to remember it's these 2 that worked. That was all that was functioning, was these 2. The rest of them needed a bit of work. For instance, I've found, if you're looking to work on these things, and you don't know what you're fudging doing, like me, so you're not an engineer or anything like that, so and you're interested in this kind of stuff, I found that there was a couple of problems that happened on multiple group selectors. So two of them I found that the H relays weren't working, so I had to replace the coil in there. And actually replacing the coil is quite simple, because especially on the H relay, if you on the rear of the H relay there's a relay, and the cool thing is with these things is you can actually, just removing this screw, instead of removing the whole relay with all the contacts, you can just take out the center coil, and it's a lot easier. And there's only actually two poles on the H relay, I think. Oh, am I going mad? I think I might be going crazy actually. Was it the H relay that was fluffed up? Yeah. So this isn't one that's gone, but as you can see in here, this is the back of the H relay, and you just use this screw and it pops out. I found the H relay didn't work when they weren't seizing, but then also there was another 2 broken group selectors that I forgot about, which was the C relay. I forgot that also the bottom relay right here. Oh, go, stay. Only has 1 pole. Oh no, CC, sorry, that one I found wasn't working in a couple of these. So after that, I managed to get them to work after replacing a couple of these and a couple of these. You basically just need to watch its function next to a working one to figure out what is not functioning about it. Also, another thing about these is I found that the timing, do you see these little screws right here? Well, these need adjusting in order for it to do what it needs to do. So C, I think it's CD. Yeah, CD, if you see before it goes that way, there's a certain pause, and the pause is actually figured out by CD. If I zoom it in on there, you can see CD flicks back. Actually, the strength of how the relay holds is down to the screw. So the further in the screw is, the quicker it kicks back. And there's a bit of fine tuning there. See, there's a pause before it goes that way. That's down to that. And then also B and HX, I can't remember exactly. I should have written these notes down because I just sat and adjusted these. But if you find it's going that way too quickly, or it's not going there at all, it could be one of 2 things. It could be that, or there is one of the springs here that should be cleaned as well. I need to remember which springs they are. As you can tell, I've literally been fiddling around with this and not really taking much notes. This is literally a crash course in this stuff. I'm not a master of this kind of crap. I am literally just a bodger. So this one was sort of working, but it was not always going up, and the reason why is, and when I opened it, I noticed there was a load of sparks going on. I sort of found that there was actually some sort of arcing sparks, sparks that were bigger than there should have been, which meant that it was actually able to make contact even when the relays were slightly a little bit open, and that caused it to be very unreliable and not go up perfectly every time. It turns out that the capacitor in the back is one of these chunky things. They're called, oh, I can't remember, spark squelching. Actually, in some of the group selectors, they come as 2 separate capacitors. In the back of some of them, you'll see there's 2 capacitors at the bottom. Well, yeah, these are what stop the sparks getting too big. And you'll notice that there are 2 of the poles, there's a red wire going to 2 of the legs of this via a current limiting resistor. Well, that was later replaced, I've found out, by a single capacitor that's basically both of them in a single box. This is the common pin and then the 2 outside pins. So you wire the 2 red wires into this one and you wire the 2 green wires. I don't think it actually matters which way around it is. I think they're both the same. Yeah, 1 + 1 microfarad. So yeah, it seems to work anyway. And then there's a current limiting resistor coming from here. I think it's 200 ohms that comes and goes to the red wire, which is earth. No, yeah, the red wire's earth. It's so confusing because everything is backwards, like everything's minus voltages. So earth, crazily enough, there's a bunch of red wires, and bats, is a load of black wires. So confusing. But that's just a problem that I had on this one specifically, was the capacitor had it. So I had to replace that, and this started working. I started putting notes on the front of them when they were sort of working. So this one is the next one that I need to figure out. It sort of works, but it doesn't. So this one, it finds the next group selector, it stops in the block, but it doesn't actually seize it. So it makes me think that H is not doing what it's supposed to do. So I'm trying to figure out what is the problem with that, but it isn't H, because I replaced H, I seem to remember. So if I type it in, yeah, it stops, but H doesn't work. But I replaced H, but maybe I replaced H with a broken H. So I'm not sure. I need to double check what is going on with this relay. But everything's pointing towards this, because if I pretend to be H when it's supposed to happen, oh bugger. Interesting, but whatever. So after quite a bit of fumbling in the dark and looking at the schematics and just sort of trying to figure bits out here and there, and sort of wrestling with it, I have got 6 working group selectors out of, before there was only 2, now there's another 4. There's one that sort of works, I feel it nearly there, and then the other 3, there's one that is pretty dodgy, and the other 2, I reckon, it's just on the precipice of getting them working. Just a little bit more time, just a tiny bit more time. Also, if you look closely at these group selectors, this little connector right here, I think it's called the vertical marker or something like that. There's usually a contact that connects onto this, but I've actually removed them all. When I've been reconnecting all of the little wipers, I've been putting new wipers on here, there and everywhere. I've done a couple of live streams on them. I probably haven't done them in the right way, but they work enough, like needless to say, I'm not doing it in the most proper way. I am the bodger badger, so whatever. So I've removed these because what these functions do on the group selectors anyway is they stop you from being able to get to certain numbers. So let's say if this group selector was not supposed to call a free, the free doesn't do anything, well, automatically it sends a tone that says no, and then you hang up and it stops. So I figured that was a bit counterproductive in the setup, so I've actually just removed these ones, which also means that there's no risk of getting it all taffled up and stuff. So these things are currently completely disconnected, which later you'll see actually means that you can sort of hack the phone calls in certain ways, which I think has added a bit more fun to it in the museum and stuff. But we'll have a look at it and the way I've wired it up in a little bit. Looking up at the top, there are currently 4 final selectors that are working as well. I've managed to get these. These were a little bit easier actually. One of them was a bit of a wrestle to get working, but these were down to just cleaning. They just needed cleaning, which is quite relieving. Potentially one of them might not be working still, but we'll see. But though I know for sure that these 3 are working happy. And What these are doing is they are basically calling the last two numbers, and they actually send the ringing. They sort all of that stuff to go over to the telephone. Speaking about ringing, this is another thing that I've got sorted. Well, it was last week's project in the evening. It was a bit of a time warp actually, because there was so many. I did a number of stupid oversights and stuff. So the ringing is a 75 AC current that goes through the wire. It goes on the positive wire, I think, or I can't remember, but just don't listen to me. Don't take what I say as you know, facts. Just take it as some stupid person fumbling in the dark here. So the ringer, which is coming from the ringing machine. So the ringing machine, which is down there, you've seen it before in numerous videos. Well, the ringing machine, which is this one, takes 50 volts and it creates 75 volts AC, and that sends it out. And what that 75 volts AC is the power that makes the bells go off in the telephones. They're all also intermittent, so it's bring bring via the cam system over there, which I've looked at a number of times. What that does is it gets sent over via a long cable up over the top into the back of this onto the tag board. So I've got them wired into ring and ring, both. The same wire is connected to both because it doesn't really matter. There's literally not going to be you know, a load of phones being called at the same time, so it's not much of a problem. And then RR ring return, which is RR odd and even, they're both connected together as well, which are actually basically wired to battery via a fuse that is over there somewhere. So ring return is the DC current that recognizes when a telephone's being picked up, and it sort of takes it to its next level where it means you can talk over it. This aspect of it actually turned out to be a right old faff. Basically, I didn't know, but I already had it working the first time. I had it wired up and working, but I stupidly didn't realize that there are different types of telephone sockets. Oh, I just didn't know. I don't know any of this stuff, so I was just going with what I figured. Basically, I bought a bunch of the cheapest telephone sockets I can find, and little did I know that telephone sockets actually have a capacitor inside them that is able to deal with the AC current to let the bell go ring, ring, ring. And so I spent multiple evenings trying to figure out why the ringers weren't ringing. I thought that the capacitor that did that job was actually inside the telephone. I didn't know it was inside of the actual socket itself. So after sitting there thinking about it and then looking in the sockets that were actually on the demonstration unit and seeing there was a capacitor in there, I was like, hang on, something's weird. So at that point, I was like, oh yeah, that I need to get different telephone sockets. I need to get master telephone sockets. So I ended up getting a couple of those. Lo and behold, wired it up back to exactly how it was the first time I put it together, and it worked. Yes, I got ringing. Another thing I added, in fact I added this the evening of the last time the museum opened, was this rack at the top. I built it actually whilst the museum was open. I was sat in the workshop putting this together, you know, whilst people were walking around the place. And what it is it's an Arduino on the back. And what this job is doing is it's doing everything that the ringer I have can't do that the ringer is supposed to do, if that makes sense. So this UAX13 requires a different ringer to the one that I've got. It's called a 2A, nightmare to find. I haven't found one. So what I did was I figured I should just build the bits that it doesn't have, just because why not, who cares. So what we have is a 50 volt, oh I'll get a bit of light, what we have on the front, on the side, is a 50 volt to 12 volt power adapter, power converter, or is it 50 volts to 5 volts, whatever it is. Just remember that you've got to wire the red and the black in backwards to what you usually do, because this is literally like an old Morris Minor. It's literally wired in backwards, everything is. And next to it, you've got the Arduino, chunky capacitor, because why not? And then there's two 5 volt relays that are talking to the Arduino via a couple of buffer transistors. If you want to see the schematic for this, it's very similar to the TELETUBBY tidal wave, or just any way of wiring in a relay into an Arduino. What this does is it sends out 2 pulses. These are called S and Z. You can see they're actually written on the relays there. And this gets told by the release relay. So whenever a phone's picked up or something's going, it turns on the ringer, which is down there. and it also turns on this S and Z pulse. It will soon also turn on the ringer, because there is another thing that I think I should do, and it's been suggested I should do it, for instance, is to when there's a phone picked up the first time, this Arduino should basically make sure that the ringer stays on for a longer duration of time, so it doesn't turn off straight away when you put the phone down. That means that in, let's say, a 10 minute bit of time, and there's 5 phone calls, that means that the ringer is going to be turned on and off 5 times. It would be better that these 10 minutes of busy period, the ringer turns on, and then 10 minutes later, bit of a pause, it will turn off. It just means that it's only ever not on when it's not being used a lot. It just means that it's not turned on and off constantly, which is, you know, it's just better to meet in the middle somewhat. So that's another plan with what is going to be wired in here. But basically the S and Z pulses, can't remember exactly what they are. It's like 250 milliseconds on one, then a little pause, then 250 milliseconds, and we'll have a look at why in a second. What the S and Z pulses do is they sort of give the line finding section, the calling section, a bit of time to realize whether there's a mistake or not. This box right here and this box right here are called the control relay sets. There's 2 control relay sets, and what these are for is quite mad about this, to be honest. The relays down here are directly connected to subscribers and phones in houses and stuff. When somebody picks up a phone, the line finder tries to find that phone as it goes up, and it tries to look for the relay set that's been picked up. But this takes a second or so. Like, it's like, you know, it does have a certain amount of time where in between the person picking up the phone and taking the call. What if the person does it in a rush where they pick it up and ring straight away? Well, whilst the line finder's doing it, it might still be doing it before, you know, and not give enough time. And the group selector might find that like line and start ringing halfway through the person's rung the first number, which means that it's going to end up calling the wrong number. So what this does, which is a control relay set, is the relay that is trying to be found by the line finder goes down. It goes through this first. So whilst the line finder is finding the relay that the subscriber that's calling, well, whilst that's happening, that line is being temporarily put through one of these. And what this means is it's going to work straight away. When the person picks up the phone and makes a phone call, it goes through this temporarily to mean that nothing gets missed. So if somebody calls really quickly and doesn't give the line finder that it's been given for that line any time, well, it's going to be going through this anyway. And then when this is done and it's ready, this kind of disengages, and the call gets put through one of these. But the thing is if there is a problem with either the line finder or the group select, or either the line finder or the control set, one of these become engaged, and that's down to one of the lights turned on, and whatever's been attributed with this in the line finder gets kind of removed from the whole setup until somebody comes along and goes, oh, there's a light, let's see what's wrong with it. So and that is down to the fact that the S and the Z pulses are certain points apart. So if it turns on and it sees another Z pulse where it's like, why am I still on? I shouldn't be on this long. And then it turns on. But that means that, okay, if the Z pulses are set too quick, then yeah, potentially it's going to be, you know, it's going to be too quick and it's going to bring up problems all the time. However, I was thinking, because these are a little bit slower, because they're a little bit more rickety, and this is literally a rat rod of a telephone exchange, I was thinking of extending the times, because there's been a couple of times when because these are, you know, they're still a little bit temperamental. The more you use them, the less temperamental they get, the cleaner they clean themselves in a kind of way because they're rubbing around, but they sometimes take a little bit longer than they should. So I'm thinking of extending the S and Z pulses from the specified lengths just to add a little more time to for these to flag up a problem. Basically, I hope that made sense. Like I said, this is going to be a right old blab of a video. So as you can see, being a bit of a bodger and just like using new means and stuff for certain things like the Arduino and stuff, I'm not trying to do this properly. I'm just trying to get it to work, and that's the main thing. This is not a concourse piece, so I think it's fine. Like I quite like the rusty look to it. It sort of looks like, you know, like when you get a hot rod or like a rat rod car, like a rat car, but it still functions and stuff, and it's got the rust and stuff that it's always had. I'm not really a fan of removing all of this kind of stuff and making it look brand new again. The thing is like there was a time in like the 70s, I swear, where like especially like military museums, they painted over you know, to make the aeroplanes and stuff look brand new, and somewhat you look at it now, it's like completely ruined it. There are some ones that are basically taking it back to the original paintwork carefully to try and show all of the fatigue and you know, damage of a vehicle being in service. Well, I think this is the same thing. Granted that most of it, granted that some of the time it has been stored, and some of this, quite a lot of this rust is from storage in different areas and stuff. But it, you know, you can't hide from the fact that this has been, you know, around and stuff. So I quite like the way it looks. In fact, I like rusty things. I think it looks nice, and it looks like something out of Fallout or something. Like you can imagine this being a telephone exchange in Fallout, because it's just so dilapidated and rickety. And yeah, it sort of also gives it an excuse that it's never gonna, there's sometimes it just doesn't want to do it what it wants to do. But over time I found that, yeah, it started to work more and more. I found that, you know, luckily I've had problems, because it means that I've had to learn a lot more about it. I don't know everything. I'm not a master of this thing, but I do have a lot more of an idea of what the fudge it is now than I did 2 months ago when it turned up. The next thing we're going to talk about is, well, what it's wired up to do right now. And yeah, I'll show you that it actually works. Yeah. This thing is now able, because there's free functioning line finders connecting to free functioning group selectors, it's now able to receive free calls without much problem. So I can pick up one phone, and I don't know which of the line finders is going to turn on, but we'll have a close look. Let's see what happens if I pick up a phone. Okay, phone number 1. Okay, it's the first line finder, and if I type in the next number, I'll type in, it will be this group selector because it's directly connected to that. I'll type in 6, and yeah, that's working. But what happens if I pick up another phone now? Well, okay, there's a bit of, some reason that's brought up a problem. This is what I mean, it's a bit rickety, and as you can see, it's actually, that's turned on. Not sure why, we'll figure it out later. But for some reason, the actual group selector is still working. I'm not sure what that is. If somebody knows it, I think it's pulling up a problem, because there's potentially a problem with this one. We're talking about a little bit the metal rectifiers as something that I'm going to be looking at soon, because I've heard that the metal rectifiers in the back, which are basically old school sort of dodgy diode thingamajiggies, can be quite temperamental. And there's, I think, a couple of problems that I've had can be attributed to the rectifiers. But the question is, do rectifiers tend to just stop working, or do they tend to turn from working to becoming temperamental? That's what I need to know, because I've replaced a rectifier successfully with a diode in a radio project before, no problems, but I haven't done it quite yet with this. That's the next job with that. But yeah, I'm not sure why the control relay set has turned on like that, even though it works, because it wasn't doing that yesterday. Like I said, it gets more and more reliable as time goes on. But right now, we actually have 2 phone lines going on at once. I've also got this wired up. We'll have a look around the back in a mo. I've got these group selectors are actually wired in to call these group selectors up here. So if I dial a 6, for instance, when I dial a 6, which I have done, it's found a free group selector. It's gone along and found the first one. This one's gone and found the second one that's free. This one, I think, pretty sure, hopefully, is connected to this one, and this one is connected to this one. Now, I've also wired in the final selectors. We'll have a look at the pin board at the back and stuff. These are connected to number 9, but the cool thing is about the UAX13, the way it's set up is 9 and 0 are completely separated from this row and this row, which is cool. I'll talk about that in a little bit anyway, it will make more sense. But I've just disconnected this one because I think there is a bit of a temperamental thing. So there's a couple here. This one needs new wipers. I need to sort it out. But I'm going to ring a number. So I'm going to ring, what do I need to ring? 9 to get to the final, to get to one final selector on one of the phones. So 9. And it's found a final selector. Okay, there's no lights on these selectors yet. I need to modify them to add lights, and I will do. And now I'm going to call on another phone, a 9 on the other one, which is going to call another line selector. Oh, I've just realised I've accidentally called this one with the second phone. Oh, see, okay. Oh, I see what I've done. I see what I've done. What a plonker. So instead of calling, oh yeah, that's what I did. So, right now, stupidly, I rung a 6 with this phone and then a 5 with this phone. 5 means this group selector has taken that phone over to the other one. So I'm actually, right now, I'm going to hang it up and I'm going to call a 6 so we can go upwards again on that phone line. So I'm going to hang up with that one. And as you can see, when I hang up on this one, it doesn't affect the other phone line that is calling. Oh yeah, so now I'm going to pick it up. I think it might pick up a different group selector now. Yeah, it's the one next to it. So now, because the allotter has flicked around the line finders down here, you might have seen there, it wasn't this one that turned on, it was this one. So now this one is directly connected to this one. So this one is going to work now instead of this one. So I'm going to type in a 6, which will take us up to the next row of group selectors. Yeah! Oh no, didn't quite catch it. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, I'm going back to the original group selector set, which is this one next to it. Okay, this one's working. Okay, I need to sort out that one next to it. But now I've got this line going through. This, remember, there's still a phone connected. The original one is still connected to these two. So it's coming along. It's coming along. Now I'm going to ring in a 9, and it's the next group selector along from there, hopefully. Oh, god damn it! I just need to clean them. They're so temperamental, but it's coming along. It's coming along. It's literally, now you can see, like, I'm literally wrestling with this thing. It's a proper wrestle. Anyway, I'm going to call on the first phone, the last 2 lines, and hopefully that is going to call a number, even though I've just realised that I am actually going to be calling the phone that I am connected to. So it's not actually going to ring. Yeah, I've just called myself. So I'm going to hang up again. Right, I'm going to call it with the other phone, that line. So I'm going to pick it up. Okay, so I think it's 6902. 6902. Yes! I've actually got, can you hear that? Finally, so. And we can pop it on the Ultratech. By the way, these are wired in. The other one, in fact, I'll walk over and show you right now. It's a little bit dark in here. It's very dark, but I'll turn on the light. I've got the Ultratech wired in over here so people can actually call up and talk between them. It's a little bit not obvious where the mouthpiece and the earpiece go, so they go earpiece, mouthpiece on top of it. So people are able to talk on it, and yeah, it'll be tomorrow because the next open day is tomorrow. So, you know, I'm able, with this, literally with this phone line, you would have noticed, now just remember to go back to here, it called with the group selector, it called with the last line finder. So this group selector was used, and then that called this group selector, which called the first free final selector, which is this one. So the phone line went line finder, this one, this one, this one. But, you remember that I actually, if you remember, I said that I disconnected all of the vertical markers, so these things, which means that you're able to actually bypass numbers in the phone number and also use more numbers in the phone number. So if, for instance, this is the cool thing, now if you sort of knew this, if you've watched this video and you come along, you could do this, for instance. So if I pick up a phone and then I call in 6. Right, so now I've called in 6 and that goes to this. In order to get to the next group selector, I need to call in 9. However, if I call in another 6, I could go to this one. So I end up going here to 6 again. Like, you can literally do that. So let's do that. Call in 6. And now I've called that one. And what happens now, if I, instead of going here, for instance, what happens if, because I've removed all the vertical selectors, if I call in a 5, this one will take us over to that other exchange. So 5. Yep, it worked. Oh yeah. So now we're down here. But the cool thing is, I think, hopefully, if the next group selector, which I know is a little bit on the rickety side, I could potentially, one sec, there is a chance that if I call in, is that going to work? Have I got that wired in? Yeah, I think it will. If I type in a 6 on this one, let's try it anyway. This might not work. So 6. Oh, it did. Now this one has called back over here. Now this one's called back over here. And I'm pretty sure, obviously I haven't modded these with lights, so you don't really know what's happening. It's called this one. This one is now connected to over there, and I'm not sure how well this one's working. In fact, I'm gonna spray it. Make sure you don't spray this onto the relays that are sparking, because especially when it's on, basically. So this is all right, but you've got to be really careful. I've learned from yeah. Now if I call 9, hopefully this group selector is going to call a final selector. Let's see. Oh no! Ah, god damn it! Damn it! That one's being ropey as well. So it seems that I can't remember. It was this one needs a little bit of love now, and this one. So these two still a little bit of work, a little bit temperamental, but it means these ones right here are nice and solid, and these two. So it's coming along. It just needs a little bit more finicking and getting to work. But as you can see, you know, if you knew the lines, you could literally bounce around different group selectors because there's no vertical banks stopping you from doing that. That's really sad. I'm going to try that again. 6, I think. 6, 6, 6, 6. Oh, this one's, is it going to work? I've just realised that I shouldn't have called another 6 because now it's gone over to the 11th fader, which then automatically sends you the new tone. But it just means that you can keep on calling different lines. I'm going to try that one more time. Okay, so 6, 6, the number of the beast, 6. Now I'm going to try 9, but hopefully this works again. Oh, it worked that time. So yeah, this one, a little bit on the temperamental side. Now, what I've done is I can now dial again, even though I've just realized I've dialed myself because I've only got one telephone still wired in telephone wired up to the group selectors on the coordinate 0, 2. But now I'm controlling the group selectors. So let's just try that. I'm gonna try that one more time when I can bounce between, and I've just realized I can actually add even more numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 5 and then 7. Now that one's lit up. Now I'm going to type in 6. Yeah, and now, so that's 5, 7, 6. And then let's see how long we can make this. 5, 7, 6, and then another 6, and then another 6, and then a 9, yeah, and then a 0. So that means now, so here we go, it's worked. So what's happened is we've gone through this group selector, which has ended up calling this one right here, which is the second one, which has ended up calling this one, which has then ended up calling this one, which is called that one, which is called that one, which is called this one. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So I've decided just to leave the vertical markers out of this because it's just a lot more fun. If you know about, you know, it's like a cheat code in a game. And then, yeah, hang it up and stuff. Now I've got to remember, oh yeah, so there's this you know, obviously every time you get another group selector going, you can do lots of different things. I will have a look at the back in a little bit, but this is something that I'm having a think about. I said I wasn't going to modify it, but I think I'm going to modify it a tiny bit. Basically, this requires 5 phone numbers. And initially, this whole plan was just going to be just a demonstration setup, but then obviously, usually, typical Sam gets obsessed, finds himself in a right old sorry predicament. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reduce the numbers by a single number. That means that all of the phone numbers are only 4 numbers long. This means that we're able to actually have more than one phone going through this setup at once. What we're going to do is we're going to have this is going to be the first number, the 5, and that's going to connect to this phone, which is the demonstration phone, the one next to the Exchange. I'm actually going to wire another one down here so people can use this as a demonstration setup. The idea being is, you know, you wouldn't have both of these on at the same time potentially, so it's fine just to have one first group selector. Then there'll be 2 second group selectors, so that means you call in 5, it calls up either one of these, which ones are free, and then the one that is at the end, the one that isn't there, that one there, I'm going to fix, I'm going to put here, so there'll be 2 final selectors, which means that you can potentially have 2 phone numbers going through this, which increases the, you know, the ability for this to be able to handle that. And then over here, yeah, it's going to be the same. So it's going to be only 4 numbers long. The great thing is, well, no, it's not great, but you don't even need it to be 4 numbers. Typically, I mean, potentially, you could get away with this setup to only have 3 numbers. So it'll just be one group selector choosing whether it goes here or it goes there, or actually, in a few months, there'll be one going over near the Mega Drone as well. Only a little exchange thingamajiggy. But you could get away with only having 3. So the first one chooses where it goes first, and then the other 2 are the coordinates and the final selector basically. But it's a bit of fun having 4 because typing in just 3 numbers isn't fun. So around the back is all of the turret boards, tag boards, I guess. As you can see, I'm still cleaning up all of it. It's just taking forever to actually get all of the old wires off it. But down here, you'll notice that, you know, it's clean as a daisy. Here you'll see that it's stuff, and you'll see there's a number of wires wired into the top. These are the ones that I've added in. They're not the neatest things. In fact, I have, if you look really closely, you'll see that I have cable wrapped them in not the best way possible. Funnily enough, I've been waiting for a wire wrapping machine to turn up for the last couple of weeks now, and it never turned up. So I was like, I'm sick of waiting. So I asked if on the Strowger Facebook page if there was any alternatives, and some people mentioned using a biro pen, and it sort of works. Like, it's not perfect. It wouldn't fly in a normal situation, but right now, you know, I'm a bodger badger, so it worked. And if you could see, they don't look awful. They don't look amazing, but they don't look awful. So these are all done with a pen. And I did this video, and it annoyed some people on Twitter. For instance, on Twitter, there was a lot of people getting all up in arms, being like, "Oh no, you don't do it like that, no." But it's like, I'm in a pickle. Like the wire wrapper machine didn't turn up, and well, they're just a tool because they're about 80 quid on RS Components. So I had to order one from overseas, and it just never turned up. So I was like, I'm sick of waiting. I'm just going to use a biro. Who cares? And yeah. You know, it's not going to fly, but it works. It works. So what's wired in here is level 6. So if you look up level 6, and then there's a bunch of wires. Every single group selector or final selector needs, well, for now, needs 3 wires connected to it. The plus and the minus, which is actually the telephone line, and a P wire, which is the line that sort of tells everything. It's like, hello, look at me, blah, blah, blah. And so there's 3 wires. Currently there's a purple, a brown, and a yellow for all of these, and signifies, I think yellow's P, I can't remember which one's purple and brown. And these wire directly from the back of specific group selectors. So up at the top, these 3 group selectors right here, around the back of it, rather gangly, is these 3 wires wired into the connectors that are needed for the 3 different things. And what that means is when one of these, or when any of the switches selects the pads in this little coordinate kind of cradle, they go over this certain pad, which is level 6, number, I don't know, 6 of those pads. Well, it goes directly over and seizes this group selector. You'll notice that there are more than 1 wire connected to each of these pads. That's because not only are these wires connecting to this cradle, they're also connecting to the cradle down behind this. So the cradle. Where was I? The SD card got full, and yeah, I didn't realize I was blabbing so much. This is a long video. So yeah, that means that this cradle is also coupled to this cradle via the levels. Probably not the right way, I don't know. There's usually different means of doing this. There is also another rack. I can't remember what it's called, the MDF, main def I can't remember what the bleeding heck it is, but that's what is usually connected between this and the phone lines. I don't have a bleeding clue. I'm just trying to get it to work. So that's what that's wired up. But when I said earlier about level 9, you can call level 9, you could skip number 6. Well, it turns out that if you look at the top of this tag board, you'll see that there are actually 2 level 9s and 2 level 0s. Well, this means every other one only has 1 level. Well, this means if there's 2 level 9s and 2 level 0s, I found out that the first row and the second rows 0 and 9 are actually completely separate. So it really works in our favor to make a fake 4-number phone call, because now this one is if you call 9 from these to get to the final selectors, well, you can't. You have to go through these. Unintentional, and potentially I may join them up together here later so you can mess around and try and call less numbers and stuff, but maybe not if I'm feeling fruity. You can see that potentially I've done a little bit of wire up. It's not the neatest job, but it works. There's nobody going to come around and fire me from a job that, I'm not, I'm just trying to get this rusty old hunk of junk working, for God's sake. And yeah, so the final selectors, they're all connected in as well. Goes down here. This is an absolute mess. This one down here, you can see that I've done some coily thing. This was before I figured out the biro pen thing. It's not very good. But this is where the phone lines are connected, and that's also connected to the final selectors. You'll see some dangly things. I haven't wrapped those yet or cleaned them. So the final selector goes right down there, goes down there, and goes into this tag board, which is the input as well as the output of the whole thing. So you literally just join them onto the same tag boards that they're supposed to do. So yeah, literally, it's this group. This bunch of wires is basically this one is basically just the 3 final group selectors, these 3, and they're in a line. So if one of them's busy, the group selector that calls 6 goes to the next one or the next one. And then this one over here is the 3 final selectors, the first 3 ones. I haven't bothered wiring in the last one yet, and that's got the same thing. So if somebody dials a 9, it's going to go over to the final selectors, and if the first one's busy, it's going to go to the next one or the next one. And that's how it works. And the reason why there's 2 wires on both of these tag boards over here is because that one set of wires actually goes up, over and down onto here, so you can call a 6 from here and go over to here. Likewise, you can mix and match the numbers, but I'm trying to keep it nice and constant. Yeah, another cool thing is the test. You can do the line finder test. One of them went a bit sketchy then. See, it's awfully ropey, but I'm trying my best at getting all of this working. One of them turned off then. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but that's where I'm at. So that was a firmly disjointed video, but I just wanted to cover pretty much everything that I've done this past 2 weeks on this thing and where it's got to and stuff. Like, I don't know what the fudge I'm doing, but it's sort of getting there, sort of making sense. What I need to do next is wire up a few more phones into it, and then also figure out the means of making it call up other instruments and stuff. I think the first one I'm going to do is wire it up to the Google counter because it's closest. It's over there. So what this is going to do is you ring it from a certain coordinate on the final selector, like 1, 0, and then you call it over, and then it automatically answers with the Google counter. So the sound coming from the Google counter will go through the telephone into here. I'm not sure how. I haven't even thought about the electronics for that yet, but that'll be something that we think about next. It potentially goes through a transformer. I'm not really sure, or it might be really simple. I'm not sure. I don't know. So yeah, that's that. And then hopefully at one point we'll have it wired up to the internet so people can call it in as well. But like I said, the next thing I'm doing today is building an interface. I'm going to use the group selectors as drum machines, basically. See if they turn out all right. Anyway, yeah, let us know what you think. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, museum's open tomorrow if you want to try this out and you've already got a ticket. I think there's 2 people that cancelled, so there are 2 tickets available. So if you looked at it, it was sold out. Well, it's not sold out right now because 2 people cancelled a couple of days ago. So yeah, have a lovely time.